Now, I know what you're all saying. It's about time I wrap this series up. A 4-part video series? Seriously, who does that? Well, you spoke and I listened. This is the thrilling conclusion to the Nightstand project. What started as a humble pile of lumber and a rectangle of plywood is now a bunch of sawdust and a larger box with another box inside of it. In this final act, you'll get to see the paint dry, boards made smaller, and if you're lucky, drawers open and close. Stick around to the end to see the final product in all of its glory. I start off by doing something I should have done before gluing these drawers together. Cutting notches for the slides. It gives me a fun excuse to misuse hand tools and make more work for myself. After gluing the broken pieces back on and doing it the right way, it's flawless. Drilling out the hole for each rear catch is the next step. There's a few pieces inside the drawer mounting kit that are side specific. Pay attention to how they are marked. I was also given about 45 screws with this kit, which explains why these things are so dang expensive. In reality, I only used 14 per drawer. I didn't use the rear mount brackets for this build, as I was able to secure the slides to the side of my cabinet. These plastic bits are used to hold the drawer slides to the box, and they have a lot of mysterious knobs on them. Keep spinning them until it looks right. That seems to have worked for me. I threw out the instructions and I don't know what they do anymore. The drawer slides have a specific setback from the opening of the cabinet. I added the thickness of my face to this so that it would sit flush with the opening. And then I marked it with a square on both sides. Then all I had to do was place the edge of the slide on the mark and secure it in place using the screws from the kit. An electric screwdriver comes in handy with a highly adjustable clutch. I don't want a broken screw or blowout on the exposed sides of the plywood. Installing the slides to the mark and securing it with a few screws is all it takes. The rear mounting brackets aren't helpful in this construction because the back panel is only 1/4 inch. I didn't use them. Slide the drawer box in and the slide install is done. With the cabinets glued and the slides installed, I revisit these Purple Heart boards that I glued together. I can get an accurate measure of the drawer face and I rip it down to length. For the installation of the handle, I don't have a template and I'm only making 2 of these, so I decided to measure the old-fashioned way. First step was to find the center of the board and mark a line. Then I do the same thing in the other dimension. Divide the width of the handle by 2. Mark that number on the board for both sides. It doesn't hurt to double check the measurements here. I then use the awl to mark the center point and then I drill for the hole. When it comes to attaching the drawer face to the box, there are a bunch of fancy jigs to use, but here's how to do it without one. Place spacers underneath the face to lift it off the bottom. Then adjust the face frame to where it looks good. Like all problems in life, this can be solved with a hammer. A few taps and the holes are transferred to the box. Again, use a pilot drill or a brad point bit because any bit drift here will make the handle install very difficult. I'm not going to permanently secure the face to the box just yet, as it'll make finishing a lot easier to do them separately. I wanted to make sure that everything fit as expected and the face frames weren't too small for the opening. Let's see what comes next. Cue the artsy shadow montage. Totally not me, just moving a flashlight back and forth. Now to Bob Ross with some painting tips.
Hey there! I'm going to test out 2 different finishes for the cabinet wood, and to do so, I have 3 offcuts of each. Purple Heart, Walnut, and Birch. Water-based poly and shellac are what I have on hand. I've already sanded each piece, so let's get to work.
The shellac had a strange interaction with the Purple Heart and made it a dingy brown color. And the poly made the walnut look horrible and dull. My strategy here will be to use the poly on the Purple Heart and coat everything else with shellac. Once the shellac is dry, I'll coat the top and the sides of the cabinet with a poly top coat for added protection and waterproofing. I had this TV stand laying around and taking up space in the shop. I knew one day I would have a good use for it, so I put together this Lazy Susan. I don't know why they're called that. I've got nothing against Susan. It's a figure of speech. I spaced the 2 boards far enough apart to hold up the legs. This will let me rotate the pieces without moving myself. Peak efficiency. I needed to scrape the glue squeeze out from the sides, as this will be a visible area. A cabinet scraper helps with the hardened glue and is a lot faster than sandpaper. If you made it this far, this is a reminder to like the video and subscribe to hear more of my sultry, smooth voice. Don't be shy and leave a comment down below. I need recommendations for sharpening these scrapers. With all the sides sanded smooth to the final grit, and the cabinet de-dusted with a tack cloth, it's time to watch the paint dry. My garage is cold in the winter, about 50 degrees, and I found that shellac is a very easy finish to apply in these conditions. The boiling point of ethanol is very low compared to oil or water-based finishes. Check the cans before you apply. They often give a disclaimer about humidity and temperature. If you watch closely, you can see the ethanol evaporating before I finish getting all the way across the top. I like shellac because it is one of the simplest finishes to touch up. A little sanding and another coat and the mistakes disappear. It's not a curing finish, which means the chemical composition doesn't change after drying. It's like a giant family of dead bugs hugging your furniture. Then they get excited and move around a lot when they drink a lot of alcohol. Not so different from you and I. This next finish is the water-based polyurethane, which says don't apply over shellac and don't do it below 50 degrees. Well, I had the space heater running and got the garage up to a tropical 52 degrees and did a few test pieces, so I should be in good shape. The shellac I used was de-waxed, which is supposed to adhere to water-based finishes better. I did get a little crazing in the poly on one of the stands, but I blame that on the temperature. I used this combination on a live edge maple slab, and I had no issues, with the only difference being that it was applied in the summer heat of July. We're in the final stretch. The last effort will be finishing the drawers and faces. I'm using shellac only for these pieces as there shouldn't be anything wet inside the drawers, ideally. I tried storing my coffee mug inside there one time, but it didn't end well. One of the drawbacks of shellac is that it is not waterproof or alcohol proof. Like I said before, it never cures, so if you spill anything such as liquor on it, it can ruin the finish. One of the many benefits of using water-based paints is the easy cleanup. There's an unlimited supply of solvent on tap, and the wastewater disappears down the magic drain. Now, shellac is a different story, but I don't ever clean the brushes completely. I let them harden, then, when needed, I'll soften the brush for 5 minutes prior to applying the shellac. This saves a lot of alcohol and mess. With all of my finish cured and not cured, I'm attaching the faces to the final position, and I'll be securing them in place with a few wood screws from the back side. I could have done something fancy here like dovetails, but I don't have those bits yet, and you'll see something like that soon enough. Look at this shiny brass handle. Ooh, very nice. I repeat the same process with the other side, and these babies are looking really cute. Boxy, wooden, lifeless babies. But nevertheless, they look good. Click the slides into place, and boom, you've got nightstands. I hope you enjoyed watching this very long series and learned something along the way. This is my first video series, and I learned quite a bit about video editing. This is the beginning of my YouTube journey, and thank you for tuning into these episodes. I've got quite a few more projects in the works. Get it? Like, no style works. Such as simple box making videos, and a special surprise coming up. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to get notifications for new videos and leave your thoughts down below. See you in the next one.